Good evening, everybody. This is Mason Sumner here, part of the current practice and worship tech course for Cedarville University. Just want to give you a couple thoughts on final thoughts here for this course. The first thing I want to talk about what stood out to me in this course, and what stood out to me is primarily in Module 3 in audio. What I wanted to discuss here is an alternate way to teach audio, especially going back to your volunteers at your church. So I understand this is a collegiate course, and a lot of us have a background here in what audio is, but this might help people who do not necessarily have an audio background or quite fully understand all the functionalities of it. So the book teaches in chapters 1 through 3 of Sound, Lighting, and Video by Brad Herring. It teaches what the mixing console is first in chapter 1 and its features. You got gain, you got equalization, auxiliary sends, all that all in chapter 1. In chapter 2, they talk about cabling and cable types. So you got your XLR, microphone cables, you got your tip ring sleeve balanced or tip sleeve unbalanced and all that. And in chapter 3 is where he gets to the microphones and their properties and characteristics. So that's how the book presents it. And it's not a wrong way to present that at all. This is just an alternate view, which I think it might be easier to bring back to your congregations. I would present this audio section as first talking about the microphones, and then go to your cabling, and then go to the mixing console. And the reason why I would do it that way is because going to the mic first would answer future questions about for example, if a microphone needs extra power to power it, like a condenser microphone would use 48 volts of power, or phantom power, which is the 48V button that you would see mostly on your mixer if you have one of those. So, you get 3 different types of microphones. You got your dynamic microphone, you got the condenser microphone, and then you got the ribbon microphone. So, understanding what those characteristics are would answer any questions on the powering of the microphone front. It would also just help to understand the flow of signal flow. So signal flow, you got how sound transfers from the speaker to the microphone through the cable to the mixing console and out to the amplified speakers. So it's just a flow. It just flows better on that front, talking about signal flow that way. And knowing how the mics work will help understand things at the mixing console, like where to set your gains, where to set levels for speakers coming out of your speakers, or if there's any problems like you got ringing coming from somewhere, your gain's probably up on a condenser microphone, or you got a dynamic microphone that's blasted through the main speakers. Maybe bring that back down a little bit. Just understanding characteristics like that, and like especially if you're talking about like an omnidirectional microphone, you just knowing what you have on stage can better address issues back at the console. Moving on to my final project. So a brief overview of what that is. It articulates that in my paper. It's a proposal for upgrades to our live stream system at my church, Fellowship Church Warsaw in Warsaw, Indiana. So a basic proposal that I did was integration of pan-tilt zoom cameras, a separate mixing console to mix the live stream audio, and choir mics for hanging from the ceiling to capture audio to make the space sound more natural, both in the live stream and to our praise band and our in-ear monitoring system, and any additional cable runs that would be required to operate those systems. So what I had learned for this project is first, Make it easy for whoever you're presenting this proposal to show them what the equipment will look like. You might not have it physically there, but the best way to do this would be through a slideshow presentation, whether it's PowerPoint, ProPresenter, whatever you have. Show them pictures of what it looks like. Um, and when you're explaining, another thing, the second thing I would say is when you're explaining these concepts, use layman's terms as much as possible. Forgive me for using this example, but if you've seen the movie Tommy Boy with Chris Farley and David Spade, when they're out making the sales pitch to sell the brake pads, David Spade's character to one client that's interested starts talking about the different characteristics, like what the brake pads are made out of, without really explaining the benefit of what that is. So the salesperson was the person making that was the client was saying, "I'm not sure what you're talking about here, buddy." So make sure that you're explaining these terms in as simple terms as possible, so it makes sense to someone who has no idea what the product is. And another thing that I would say is have different estimates for costs. So for my proposal, one thing that I offered was to do the install work myself, which means there would be no like labor charge or anything like that, and a contractor put estimate of what they would charge on top of the equipment that we would purchase. So, for example, my low end was $13,305.05 for all the equipment that we would need, and the cable and a couple other things in there. But if a contractor came in, probably be looking of making all the cable runs, you'd probably be looking about $20,000 just for the equipment that we would buy, and then for them to come in and to have the labor and time and material that they would probably charge would be a lot more expensive if someone else did the work that way. So I would have different cost estimates there and make sure that you budget for everything as much as possible. Thank you for all your engagement in this course, and God bless, and may God continue to use you in the best way possible in your ministry context.